this is all part of a gigantic overview project on the life and work of John Ford, a great director who made 52 films for 20th Century Fox, some of which are the silents. And of course the silents are silent, hence they need music. And so we have undertaken to commission composers to score each of these 5 silent films.
I was instructed to come up with a score, a 136-minute score for John Ford's silent feature, and come up with a score that was indigenous not only to the period but to John Ford's basic philosophical approach to filmmaking.
I felt that Christopher Caliendo was the man to go to. He had done a few silent films in the past, as well as the massive score that he had done for Major Dundee, and I recommended them that they speak to him, which they did, and he was hired.
This is the last big action cube.
Christopher enjoys something that no composer working in the Hollywood film industry today has, which is complete creative freedom. He is hired as the composer, the orchestrator, the conductor. He is also the musical director of the entire project. And so there is no one who's going to tell him how to write the score.
They're giving me full swing to be creative. This creates a very unique and fabulous opportunity to be free of any decisions that may compromise the true creative process. So I was able to write exactly what I wanted to, in a sense, try to capture John Ford's metaphysical properties in this film.
The comedic sections, you've got to change your personality here. I would suggest, Mike, give me more accent on ba-da-da-da-ba-da-da. Just if you can, Michael, just a little more accent there.
I would consider myself not just a character, but I have to be split personalities times how many ever characters there are, even the side characters in the film, but I have to capture those personalities and breathe life to them. In silent film scoring, it's a very different approach because you have pure music alone to capture not just the intimate characterizations and nonverbal dialogue going in between the characters, but you have to deal with sound effects, psychological impressions. The music should capture all of that. So the responsibility is much greater for the composer.
There's no competition in terms of sound. In other words, there's no dialogue, there's no sound effects. What you hear is the score that we're recording today and the next couple of days. So there's nothing to hide behind. It's really, most simply, the way that the music can really help the film to tell a story.
When you have great directors, there's always a metaphysical philosophy and approach behind them. Peckinpah had it, John Ford had it, and I think I recognize the metaphysics in this film, and they were man's progress. You know, the essential building of America was this railroad, how to unite this country with a machine.
Studio A here at Capitol, we have the best string sound out of all the recording studios. It really sounds warm and full here, a true maturation of a good string contingency. The strings you should be hearing are 30 in number, and we have 12.
When we have a large orchestra, they open up Studio B, and they put all of the strings in Studio B and all of the brass and saxes here. So it's wonderful. This is my favorite studio. I love working here.
All the famous record guys all recorded here. In fact, we just this past week been working with Barry Manilow here.
Every time I walk in here, I think about all of the wonderful things Frank Sinatra has done here. You know, he was the one that got this place established, and I was fortunate enough to do his last duet albums. I did number 1 and number 2.
Is it fun? It's exhilarating. You live for it.
This is a barroom scene. This is a brutal brutal fighting sequence. It's very dissonant. And at the same time, there's interesting counterpoint going on, because in the middle of this, you have a blind man who can't see, has no idea a fight's going on, with all this noise going around. It's John Ford's way of loosening things up. So I chose to play both sides in the matrix of all this. Now, our musicians don't know this. They're just getting thousands of notes. So their interpretation has to be so incipient and quick. A different type of interpretation has to be required. You have to have an eccentric interpretation of the accents, the brutality of it. All that's got to come out of us, or it will not translate in the film.
All sessions are hard because we are all basically sight reading. We don't see the music before we show up. Christopher writes really challenging parts, so that makes this session a real challenge for everybody, but a good challenge. It's really exciting, and he writes exciting music. You have to be really on top of your game and keep looking ahead.
This is wall-to-wall music, and it's hard. Christopher writes hard.
It's very complex music, so it's just, and we've never seen it before, so it's a sight-reading kind of roller coaster ride.
Just lots and lots of notes, and it's a challenge to the player. But once you sort of get into it, then you rise to another level. It's fascinating. Your playing actually becomes better when the score is difficult, like it was today. And so I enjoy it. I really enjoy having a challenge like this.
In the right hands, what I think we've done is we have possibly revolutionized silent films, the way we look at them. All of a sudden, the orchestra allows us to preview the film in that way, in a very different manner. If you look at it with the piano soundtrack sounds very dated. We're accustomed to it. It often sounds humorous. But here we have something that covers the full vicissitudes and spectrums of feelings, the whole human canon of expression and meaning. And we're allowed to look at this film in a very different way and perhaps get even closer to the reality of 1924 when John's shooting this film, 6,000 extras. It's like a documentary. When I watch The Iron Horse, it's like you're back in time, in Lincoln's time. So I think it's extraordinary what Fox has done, because it allows us, and hopefully maybe it serves as an impetus to continue doing this. There's much to learn from these silent pictures.